Hey guys, welcome back. Last week we spent some time talking about the importance of finding time to rest in God's presence. And this week we're going to take that just one step further and talk about one of my favorite things, dynamics. Dynamics is by far one of my favorite things about music, just the rise and fall of the wall of sound from this huge chorus into this really quiet bridge. That happens in 85% of all of the worship songs we do here at Cottonwood. And I found myself thinking about this last week as I talked to you about finding time to rest in God's presence, about how often do we pay attention to the dynamics going on in our spiritual life? How often do we quiet things down so we can hear from God when we spend some time in His presence? And I want to share a story with you from 1 Kings 19 about a guy named Elijah. And just to kind of set this up for you, Elijah has just confronted the prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. He's killed all of the prophets of Baal, and Jezebel is ticked. She sends a message to Elijah saying she's going to kill him. Elijah is terrified. He flees for his life, and he spends a night in a cave, and that's where we pick up in 1 Kings 9, verse 13. And 1 Kings 19, 9 through 13 says, "There he went into a cave and spent the night. And the word of the Lord came to Elijah. 'What are you doing here, Elijah?' He replied, 'I have been very zealous for the Lord God Almighty. The Israelites have rejected your covenant, torn down your altars, and put your prophets to death with the sword. I am the only one left, and now they are trying to kill me too.' The Lord said, 'Go out and stand on the mountain in the presence of the Lord, for the Lord is about to pass by.' Then a great and powerful wind tore the mountains apart, shattered the rocks before the Lord, but the Lord was not in the wind. After the wind there was an earthquake, but the Lord was not in the earthquake. And after the earthquake came a fire, but the Lord was not in the fire. And after the fire came a gentle whisper. When Elijah heard it, he pulled his cloak over his face, and he went out and stood at the mouth of the cave. Then a voice said to him, 'What are you doing here, Elijah?'" So if I put myself in the story and think of myself as Elijah, I'd have wanted God's voice to be in the wind, to be in the earthquake and the fire. I'd have been like, "Yes, Lord, rain it down. Take care of Jezebel. Take care of these guys for me." But that's not what we see here. Instead, we see that God's voice appears to him and comes to him in a whisper, in a still small voice. And there have been many times, and there still are many times in my life, where it's hard to hear from God when I spend time with Him because there are 1,000 things shouting for my attention, and God is whispering. Sometimes these things going after my attention are bad, and it's clear that I have to ignore them. Most of the time, though, these things are good, and they're competing for my attention. They're competing for the spot that God belongs in. And it's in those times I remember what Pastor George DeYoung said on my trip to Egypt. He said, "Don't get caught up in the good things and miss the great that's going on." And that was really impactful for me, and I've heard another pastor say, "You can't lead people to a place where you haven't been." And so for us, we need to continue to practice quieting our lives so that we can hear God's voice and in turn usher people into God's presence and help them hear His voice on Sundays. And so I want to encourage you to kind of take a mental inventory, to pay attention to the dynamics going on in your life. How loud is everything around you? Can you hear God's voice, or do you need to bring the wall of sound down and spend some time in a quiet bridge with Him? I want to thank you guys so much for watching again today. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I will see you on Sunday. Reminder that Sunday is one service, 10 a.m. You're going to want to get here early. It's going to be packed. See you then.